Hey, how's it going guys? Phil here, and this is a review for the ZeroEdge Z2 Plus rearview mirror dashboard camera. You'll receive the rearview mirror camera, an instruction manual, microfiber cleaning cloth, 2-port USB cigarette lighter power adapter, an extra set of mirror attachment bands, a set of clips, the backup camera, 2 mounting screws and sticky pads, 16GB micro SD card, 33-foot video input cable, a 33-inch micro USB cable, and a 12.5-foot mini USB power cable. Let's take a look at what we received, check out some video samples, and I'll show you how I installed it in my car. The mirror is quite large. It measures 12 inches by 3.5 inches, and the LCD screen in the middle has a 5-inch diagonal. Be sure to remove the protective film on the front, as this may cause some haziness. The mirror is pretty dark and it has a deep silver tint to it. Here it is compared to the previous Z2 model, which is a tiny bit wider and definitely has a blue tinge to it. While the dark coating does help reduce glare, it tends to look a bit dim at night. The camera for the unit is on the reverse side. There is also an external speaker, and these bands are meant to wrap around your existing rearview mirror so that the unit fits right over it. The lens on the camera is adjustable because it's on a ball joint. This will help you orient the camera after you've adjusted your rearview mirror. On top is a mini USB power port, AV output port, micro SD card slot, and micro USB port for the backup camera. The reset button sits just below the ports. Along the bottom are the control buttons, which click upwards from the bottom. From left to right, you have power, menu selection keys, OK button, and menu mode button. If you're upgrading from the previous Z2 model, note that you will not be able to reuse its backup camera. The input cable is completely different, and the power connector is a 5-pin versus a 4-pin. Besides, the new backup camera has a higher resolution and its angle can be adjusted, so you're better off using that one anyway. I just hope that these screws here are rust-proof. Make sure you install the micro SD card first so your camera can record video. At 920 by 1080p quality, a 5-minute video clip from the front camera takes up about 575 megabytes. The video is clear and crisp with realistic colors and white balance that is a bit on the bright side. The rear camera footage averages around 400 megabytes per 5-minute clip and only records in 720p. But again, the video is nice and clear and you can see plenty of detail. It's a lot better than the resolution of the rear camera from the previous Z2 model. When watching the rear camera feed on the computer, note that it's a mirror image. At night, of course, everything is darker, but I would say it's still relatively clear. There does seem to be a bit of HDR enhancement going on in the front camera as the light sources stand out in the video. With the rear camera, you don't quite see as much detail unless there's a lot of ambient light, and the image is much more grainy. At the highest resolution of 2304 by 1296p, a 5-minute clip from the front camera takes up about 650 megabytes. However, I noticed very little difference between 1080p and 1296p. This is the 1296p 30 frames per second video and audio test for the ZeroEdge Z2 Plus. Also, the audio in the video is always going to be the same for the front and the rear camera feeds. Strangely enough, at 720p at 60 frames per second, the image was actually less clear than 720p at 30 frames per second. Note that if you turn the unit on without an SD card installed, the date and time will reset. So if you take the card out to transfer files to a computer, you may have to update the date and time after you reinstall the memory card. So here you can see when we turn the car on, the camera comes on and starts recording automatically. When I put the car in reverse, it automatically switches view to the back camera and puts up the reverse guides. The reverse guides are pretty accurate, though depending on the placement on your vehicle, it may look like you're right up against the curb, but you'll actually be 4 to 6 inches away. When I switch back to drive or park, the front camera comes back into view with a picture-in-picture of the reverse camera. Let me take a minute and turn the dashcam off and show you what the mirror looks like by itself. With the LCD off, the mirror looks pretty much like a normal rearview mirror, although it is much darker than the normal silver color of my original mirror. Because it's wider than the original mirror, it does tend to get in the way of the driver's side sun visor. You can switch camera views by pressing the left button, which will also toggle on and off picture-in-picture. Pressing the right button will turn on and off audio recording. To change the settings, make sure the camera is not recording. If it is, press OK to stop recording. Then, in each mode, press and hold the menu key to bring up the settings. Use the arrow keys and the OK button to make your selections. Short pressing the menu key allows you to change modes, for example to photo mode, video review mode, and photo review mode. Here's the full installation. Secure the unit to your existing rearview mirror using the straps on the back. Next, plug the mini USB cable into the power port on top, and the USB plug end into any available powered USB port. You can use the cigarette lighter power adapter that came with the unit. Next, I'll install the back camera above my license plate, which is on the outside of my trunk lid. You'll want to make sure the camera is centered and use one of the white adhesive sticky pads on the back. Don't forget to remove the plastic lens protector, as this could make your images blurry. For additional security, you can screw it in using the 2 mounting screws included with the set, but this will require drilling 2 holes into your trunk lid, so I skipped it. Next, I removed one of the license plate lights and light covers and fed the camera cable through the hole into the trunk. Now, back at the rearview mirror dashcam unit, plug in the micro USB video input cable. I'm going to run the wire through the interior of my car cabin along the passenger side. It's going to go under the edge of the ceiling panel by the windshield, then under the trim next to the passenger side door, and when you get to the division between the front door and the back door, you may need a screwdriver to pull up the trim a bit. You can see I'm wearing gloves here, and that's because the ceiling panel is made of fiberglass, so I'm wearing them to avoid small fiberglass splinters. Continue running the cable under the trim towards the back seat. I've got my back seat folded down so I can run the cable straight into the trunk. I'm going to pull it through behind the trunk liner so that it's hidden. Finally, when it gets to the trunk lid, run it up the hinge towards the license plate where it will attach to the video cable coming off the back camera. Now that the rear camera is hooked up, I want it to turn on automatically when the car is put in reverse gear. For this, we'll have to wire the back camera into the car's reverse light inside my trunk. I folded down my trunk liner here by removing 3 plastic screws so I have access to the reverse light. Then I removed the power connector from my reverse light and located the black and brown cables, which indicate negative and positive respectively. You notice that the rear camera power cable has a red cable hanging off of it in addition to the video feed. I'll be hooking it into the positive lead on the reverse light connector. What I've done is simply push the red cable down into the connector with the brown wire. Now I can just plug this back into the reverse light bulb. The last thing you can do is hide the USB power cable for the unit. I'll run it up the same side as the other cable towards the passenger side. This time when I get to the trim, I'll run it down towards the dashboard, using a screwdriver to help me tuck the wire beneath the trim along the door. Then I'll wrap under the glove box, across to the center console, and pull the USB cable out right where my cigarette lighter port is for easy access and no hanging wires. There's plenty of other features that work decently well, like the G-sensor, park monitoring mode, and motion detection. Except for the date reset issue, which is pretty annoying, the quality of the video and audio are really good, and the camera works just about as well as I expected. I hope you enjoyed this review. You can ask me any questions in the comments. I'll put a link to the product in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and join me next time.